Okay. Now, how did y'all all hear about this? I know you invited by Paul.
Yes.
As we was just saying.
I'm on one on Eventbrite.
Oh, you seen it on Eventbrite?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
Instagram.
Perfect. Okay. Cool. Invitation is locked. Instagram.
I've been
Now,
looking on Eventbrite, trying to do something every week in real estate.
that's smart. That's real smart, man. Because it's like it's the time to network right now.
Yeah.
It's the time to network when it's environments like these. This is the time to go out there and meet as many people as you can, make as much money as you can, do as much. Hold on one sec, you guys. No. Do as much as you can in that
Yeah.
space. You know what I mean?
And where are you located?
Right here.
Right here.
This is our offices in the front.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the back. This is the backdrop. Where, we do the events and
Bad
stuff.
timing with the lights out there tonight.
Luckily, we was all out of power. We was without power the whole until about a couple hours ago.
Oh, is that right?
Oh man. Yes, sir. We was completely out of power. Worried. I was like, oh man, it ain't gonna. I don't know how it's gonna work out. Not having no power up in here, but it worked out, man. But like the lights are not on, on the outside.
Yeah.
So Paul's trying to work on setting all that stuff up and everything. Make yourself at home. We'll be on a couple minutes. So what is everybody's got a nice intimate group, so we can network a little bit more and talk. And so if you have questions while we're in the presentation, make sure you ask. Sometimes we have a big group. I say leave questions to later. But now this is a nice, small, intimate group. Ask away. So what is y'all interest in real estate? Just learning, kind of getting involved in the business, want to take it to the next level, or what?
Well, yeah, I'm just interested to hear your perspective.
Yeah.
I've seen some of your videos. I've met you, and I know just from some conversations I've had with Mr. Chambers about what's going on in Stockton.
Yeah.
So I'm interested in that.
We just was talking about Stockton.
Yeah.
Stockton.
So, I only own my home here in California. That's it. I don't own any other properties here, but I'm looking to do that.
Hey, and look.
Some commercial property. Like I have Texas and at home in Louisiana and
Okay.
just different parts, but nothing here. So it's time to do something in California.
Yeah. Well, and timing is good. That's the topic we'll be talking about tonight is kind of the market cycles and timing and stuff like that. How to make it work for you.
Mm-hmm.
How to take advantage of where we are. It's hard to buy stuff when everybody's competing for it.
Yeah.
Because you got a lot of people with cash out here, a lot of people going after stuff, and it just becomes very difficult to buy anything. When like last year, when there's 25 people competing over the same property, it's tough.
Yeah.
It's very tough. But when you can come in and negotiate more prices, and I'm doing whatever we got to get to it. We got to make some money. We got to make things happen. Come on, fix it wherever.
Yeah, and ownership is just so important.
Very important.
We talk about gentrification. You see it happen all over the country.
Yeah.
But unless we own the property,
Yeah.
we really don't have any leverage.
Yeah. Now ownership's the key.
Yeah.
Mr.
More
Chambers?
people coming.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool.
Kind of correct me.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Much appreciated. Much apprecited. And you talked about ownership. The importance of ownership is critical, because if you don't have ownership, especially over properties, then you're subject to whatever's happening.
Yes,
Now in Oakland, we've got some of the most, I don't even know what to call it, but laws in favor of the tenant, right? So there's nowhere in America other than maybe San Francisco or Berkeley that has laws that's going to favor the tenant, right? But even that being the case, the laws can favor you all they want as a tenant. You're not going to build wealth off of that, and you're not going to advance if you're paying an $800 rent. Let's just say you maybe have a lower rent. You get blessed with the rent control situation, but you're not going to advance. You know what I'm saying? And that's where ownership comes into play. And then ownership done the right way. You know what I mean? Making sure that we invest and we do things that are sustainable and that are profitable. You know, because like I was saying, excuse me, like I was saying, last year, to get a property, you would have had to overbid 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And so what I saw a lot of last year, people buying properties and not making a profit, not making an income. You know what I mean? The problem with that is that when you buy just for the values to go up, when the values change and they don't go up, in real estate, stocks, nothing always only goes up. That's a lie. You always hear, okay, but they ain't making no more dirt. The Lord ain't making no more dirt. That's true. But the market goes up and it goes down. And that's kind of the idea or thought that I'm going to share with you guys today, is to understand the market cycles and then to understand where we at in the market cycle and what strategies are going to work. Because I'm always advocating the fundamental principles of investment anyway, the cash flow model, which I'll go over, as the guide to help you to figure out what to do. Because if you simply just looking at, hey, properties go up, they go up, they go up, when you get caught in a situation where they don't go up, like right now, and maybe they go the other way, what right? In the time similar to this, but at that time, it was blood on the streets. You know, it wasn't we about to be in a recession. No, it was a full-blown, this is a recession. You know what I mean? And so in those times, though, that's when I started my company. I was and am married, had my first child on the way. So it was a very also difficult time, and a time where, for me, I felt, hey, this is the time to swing the bat. This is the time to take the risk. I started in the business in 03, and I had seen this big run up. And so when I was in 2009, I see those prices fall in half, right? And I saw that. I was, my antennas was up as to, hey, somebody's gonna make some money out of this. Somebody's gonna win. Somebody's gonna benefit. You know what I mean? And I wanna be a part of that. I had a lot of clients that were buying stuff, and that's when I kind of came up. At the same time, I saw a lot of people go out of business. Saw a lot of people lose properties. Saw a lot of people, not stand tall and abandon properties when, if they'd have just stayed, hung in there a little bit, they could have got some benefit out of it. So as a big part of what I'm trying to share with people is the idea of resiliency, the idea of persistence, and not just burying your head in the sand when things get tough, or not saying, oh, I'm just gonna wait till I'm just gonna wait for the market, because if you wait, there's ways to time the market, but waiting is never really the answer. Being patient is, but you ain't gonna never find no great foreclosure deal waiting. Because the people who are hunting, going after it, they gonna get it. I'm saying I'm gonna wait for the foreclosure crisis to come down. Going to benefit from all the foreclosures going on. You don't wait to buy foreclosures. You track, you go after, you get foreclosures, but you stay patient. You stay patient to make sure it's the right deal. You know what I mean? And so that's really, really important. So how y'all doing? Come on in. Okay, that being said, time in the real estate market. That's the core of what we're talking about. That's what today's presentation is. That's what we're doing. Now, it's based on a book called Time in the Real Estate Market by the author. His name is Craig Hall. And he wrote this book. He's been investing in real estate since the 50s. He's still around. I talked to him in 2018. That's when I read this book. And I highly recommend anybody who's interested in understanding real estate market cycles to go on and read this book by Mr. Craig Hall, because he talks about real life experience. A lot of times real estate books they don't tell you about their failures, right? You ever order a real estate course, they're not telling you about, oh, this is how I messed up and this is what's really going on in the marketplace. They can only tell you, hey, you can make all this money and you can do all this stuff, which is possible. This book right here, he goes into the nitty-gritty of how he made money, how he lost a lot of money, how he lost a lot of properties, how he bounced back, how he built it back, and the importance of the market cycles. You know what I mean? So really, if you want to study this, go ahead and get that book and drill into it. I'm going to kind of give a summary of it and some of the key points to it. Now, for y'all that don't know me, I said a little bit about myself and the company. I started in '09, and I learned a lot about real estate. I learned a lot about people and leadership through some of the organizations I've served. I was the president of the Associated Real Property Brokers here in Oakland and the California Association of Real Estate Brokers, which is the state and local board of NAREB, the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. NAREB is the Black Real Estate Brokers Association. It was formed in 1947 when blacks was not allowed to be realtors because the realtors would not let us in. Realtors is an organization. Everybody who is an agent is not necessarily a realtor. You have to join the association, right? That gets you access to the MLS. The MLS is now online, and Zillow got access to it, and Redfin, and everybody, and we can all see it. It wasn't no internet back then. It was a book, and if you didn't have access to it, you didn't know what was going on. So black folks was allowed to own property, was allowed to be licensed, but we weren't allowed to be realtors. So we created our own organization called the Realtist. So if you know somebody that's part of the NAREB organization, we are called Realtist. So I had the honor of serving here as the president in Oakland, and also as the president of the state. But because my business is commercial real estate, I went out and I got what's called a CCIM designation. That stands for Certified Commercial Investment Member. That is the highest designation in commercial real estate. You gotta take a bunch of classes, you gotta take a test, but before you get the designation, you have to show them what's called a portfolio of business. You can't just go take no classes and get that designation. You have to do at least $10 million of business over the last 5 years from the time you take the test, and you have to document that, right? So I did that, but more than doing that, I am a part of the local chapter, NorCal CCIM for Northern California, but I was also the president of that organization in 2018, the first and only black president of that organization. I'm bringing all this stuff up to y'all, a couple reasons. Because I learned a lot about people, I learned a lot about leadership, I learned a lot about and get this stuff done, all right? When they work for you, they just gonna come in and report and, all of that. When it's a volunteer, like for instance, we had a board, they don't work for you. You can't just, hey, go here, go there, do this, do that. You have to be able to get people on board with your vision and move them forward, right? And anytime you do something like that, that's what's required to be successful in real estate investments. So if there's any network that you're a part of where you can go and serve, and it's a lot of hard work, like when we was in the Realtist, we had a lot of things to do. We don't make money, but we're bringing value to our community. That helped me tremendously to be able to run my company, to be able to expand my network, to be able to serve my community. So if you have an opportunity in your life to be able to join an organization, all of these organizations I mentioned, I've closed several deals. Even in NorCal CCIM, I've closed over $20 million of deals just from being in a room, networking and talking to people. Rooms like this. Make sure you network and talk to people. I've closed deals. I've sat right next to somebody, just like y'all in a room, sitting here learning something. Afterward, hey, what do you do? What do you do? Get the business card. We interact, we exchange, and we do business. You know what I mean? And it works out just like that. So keep that in mind. Make sure you network. A little bit about myself. Now, let's get into it, y'all. There's 7 things that really affect the real estate market. 7 things. Now, the first three are national. These affect everybody, right? Inflation, interest rates, right? We seeing that, right? And what's called the flow of funds into real estate. So inflation. Now, small group, so we can be interactive. Has anybody experienced, or how has y'all experience been with this inflation that we seeing right now?
See prices going up for food, clothing,
Food,
cars, I mean, gas, yeah. Everything on the rise, probably 20% plus.
yeah, all that, right? I went to, I was gonna say food mill, but Whole Foods. Got some salmon out of that. $30 for the salmon, right? I went to a restaurant and looked at the salmon, and it was, I could have ordered salmon for $27. So I thought, I'm like, man, I could have got a cheaper salmon by going to the restaurant, sitting down and get some salmon. I go to Whole Foods, I'm paying $30. That don't make no sense. You know what I mean? If I could, I'm paying less for the restaurant salmon than I am at the Whole Foods salmon. You know what I mean? That's just one example. My wife came and bought a pack of chicken. It was like, it used to be 20-something chicken wings in a pack, right? We used to get them for $10, $15. She paid $27, and it was 17 and a half chicken wings in that day. 17 and a half, because one of them didn't count. So they shrinking down what they're giving you, and it's almost at least 20% is a minimum number on stuff. They tell us our inflation rate has been at 8%, 7%. That's because they're not in those numbers where they do the consumer price index. They're not including real estate costs. They're not including cars. They're not including a bunch of things that are actual consumable products. So it's more than 9 or 10% inflation that we're dealing with right now. It is more like 20. High levels of inflation, historically, what you're going to end up seeing, and currently, what you are seeing, is the interest rates go up, right? If you're in the real estate business, we've been seeing some extreme interest rates. This time last year, you buy a house, you could have you could have got a mortgage in the low 3%. If you bought an apartment building, you could have got a mortgage in the mid to high 3%. Right now, on average, everybody's a little bit different. You paying high 6%. Some of them are in the low 7% for a home mortgage. And this right now, this year is the first year that I can remember. I've been in the game since '03. That commercial real estate, apartment buildings, office buildings, so forth, the interest rates on average are less than the interest rates for a single family house. And I've been seeing that since really about March, April. And I've never seen that, right? So we got a serious issue with inflation, which has now caused the high interest rates. And understand, the Federal Reserve has to keep these interest rates up. Even if they drop them, they can't drop them down, because if they do, when we all lose, everyone loses with inflation. In fact, people with fixed incomes, lower amount of income, we really, really, really lose. The stock market gonna lose too, though. Wealth gonna lose, Walmart everybody gonna lose. So the Fed is saying that's enemy number one is inflation, not a recession. They are saying to us, we would rather have a recession right now. They're creating a recession so that we can tame this inflation that's running wild right now. If anybody, I wasn't around in the 70s. I was born in '82, right? But if you was around in the 70s or doing business in the 70s, you know what it was to pay 19% interest rates. My big mama bought her house, and she said her interest rate was 19%, right? And she was like, y'all complaining about 6 or 7%. We 19%, and she gladly paid it because that was the going rate. She got her house paid off, and she owned it. So that's what rates was, because inflation. They had to do it, right? And that affects real estate. Right now, the third thing is probably, I won't say even more important, but it's just as important as the first two: flow of funds, money into the real estate market. Now, here is the big thing in 2008 that killed everything, because we didn't really have no high inflation, and the rates went up a little bit, but they didn't go up a lot. They didn't go up like they just did. What we had in 2008 is the money stopped. Done. It was a gravy train for a minute. The gravy train stopped. If y'all remember. So I remember real well because I was eating top ramens and pinto beans for a minute because from October 2008 to about May 2009 in my office, a real estate office, there was 2 offices up in Montclair, about 80 agents. It was about 5 deals that got done in from October 08 to May 09. You know what I mean? And for real estate agents, we get paid. We not like lawyers. Lawyers get a retainer, they get some upfront money. CPAs, sometimes they get upfront money. Real estate agents, real estate brokers, we get paid at the end when the deal goes through. So if we start doing all this work, trying to sell your property for you and doing all this, and we making it happen, and we got us a buyer, we in contract, we about to get it going, and the loan, and they can't get no loan, the loan fall through, we ain't getting paid at all. You know what I mean? So that was a very extreme period of time, and the big extreme part of it was it wasn't no money. It wasn't no money into the business. That is what is unique about now. It's a whole bunch of money for real estate. The banks got money. They will give you money. Now it's gonna cost a little bit more right now, right? It's gonna cost a little bit more. That's just what it is. But they have it to lend. They didn't have it to lend for a while back in the day, right? So, in that instance of time, we saw a big, steep decline in prices because all of a sudden you had all these foreclosures, right? And then you had people who couldn't get no loans to buy them, and therefore the banks had to drop to where people who had cash came in and swooped them up for serious discounts, right? So we are in a different market. We certainly see an inflation, high inflation. That inflation has caused the Fed to really raise those interest rates up. We went, like I said, average 3% to high 6%. That's double. It didn't go up by 20%. It doubled, over 100% in less than a year, right? That's extreme. I don't know the history of everything, but I don't know if that kind of a jump has ever happened in that short of a time, right? It's happened now. The difference between now and 2008 was there's a bunch of money. They created, in the pandemic, government created 43% of the US dollars that ever existed. And they circulated somewhere. The banks just hold them. They ready to give you 7% money right now if you're gonna take it. You know, for commercial real estate, they're ready to give you loans, investment funds, they sitting on money. A lot of people are trying to figure out which way is going, which way is up. Now, those are the first 3 things, and that affect everybody in the country. We was talking about Africa, investing in Africa earlier. That affects everybody in the world because the economy now is all connected. We not just in the United States. What happens in the United States affects what happens in Europe, what happens in China, what happens in Africa, what happens in everywhere else, South America, right? We all in this thing together. But the last 4 are specific to your area. And they probably are, I want to say, more impactful to those because interest rates, all that stuff's impactful. But these 4 things is really specific to you, and these are the things you need to know about. Like we were talking about Stockton and that little pocket of downtown Stockton that's really on fire and that's really growing and that's expanding, right? Because you need to know where job growth is at. People gonna go where the jobs is at. They always have and they always will. You know what I mean? So a bunch of people moved out of California this pandemic. They was going to Florida, they was going to Texas, they was going to Arizona. And from the Bay Area, people been moving from the Bay to the Valley. Sacramento, Stockton, you know, people going out to Brentwood, all that kind of, you've seen it, right? Lathrop, Tracy. Companies are now going out there. And so why I'm so hot about Stockton is because this time around is they've had a few employers move out there. And Amazon set up a fulfillment center or a distribution center out there. You know, there's a Tesla is in Lathrop. You know, In-N-Out Burgers corporate headquarters in Lathrop. A lot of people don't even know about that, right? Prologis is a big real estate investment company, and they do big distribution hubs and centers. They setting them all up around I-5. And that's gonna mean jobs, good paying jobs, all around I-5. So we can look and see, wow, hey, California and the Bay Area, we've lost a lot of population, we've lost a lot of jobs, but actually the Central Valley is adding jobs and they're adding population, right? So that's a trend to pay attention to. Also, where are people moving in? Where are people moving out? You know, city of San Francisco had, I mean, I got people right now that are buying deals in San Francisco for prices they never would have thought. Still right now. Houses, apartments, office buildings, because a lot of people moved out of San Francisco. Now it's coming back. Of course it's coming back. If you would have bought in 2021, everywhere else in the world was up, except for like San Francisco. You could have got an actual pretty good deal in the city of San Francisco. You know what I mean? Because of all the restrictions, people couldn't do nothing. So you ain't finna pay $4,000 a month for a studio if you can't go to the restaurant. You know what I mean? So people's like, I'm gonna get up out of there and go somewhere, and I can work online. Why am I here? People come, so a lot of people bought, and now be able to, people coming back to the city, they're able to rent them out. So you got to know where people moving into, moving out of, right? Certain places in the South really have blown up, like Austin, Texas, has really blown up. Huntsville, Alabama, parts of Tennessee. These are places where the path of progress. Parts of Florida, a bunch of people from the East Coast have been moving to Florida, but it was a major move over the last 2-3 years. So just understanding where people are moving to. In your specific neighborhood, are people moving in? Are people moving out? Like I live in the Oakland Hills off of Keller. They are finally starting to do construction on the old Navy base. And so they're gonna have some places for us to go shop. You got all these people with money up in there. We gotta go to San Leandro. We gotta go somewhere else to go grocery shopping. Ain't no breakfast place. Ain't no dinner place. Ain't nothing. But they're building it all now, right? So that's now jobs. People coming. There more people gonna come and move there. That's also what's number 6. It's in the path of progress. It's in the path of progress. So there's progress happening. Drive up and down MacArthur from here all the way to 73rd. You will see the streets. They invested into the streets. You see these signs that they put over. They're trying to make it nicer. Slowly but surely. Then you see this new development between 98th and 106th. The solar homes, I think they call it, townhouses. They starting to pay attention to that. Path of progress. The progress is coming down there, right? Very, very important. And then new construction. People that, especially big companies, when they do new construction projects, they do a lot of research. They just not, there goes some land, we're gonna build on it. No. They got whole departments and teams of people that are set up simply to go in there and locate areas where they're gonna build. So if you see a bunch of new construction, like you see downtown Oakland, we got periods of when the pandemic happened, with nobody down there and all that stuff. Before the pandemic happened, you couldn't park nowhere. They busting people windows, taking stuff, but it still didn't stop nobody. And now it's opening back up. It's hot. You see a crane everywhere in downtown. So those 4 things is local: job growth, in or out migration, where people moving, path of progress, where's the progress going, and where's the new construction. Especially with big developers, because they got teams of people that's doing research and figuring out where we're gonna do it. They're not just, you see them cranes, they done put a lot of energy to that. No matter where the market is today, the market might be down, but the fundamentals of the area is where people is going, and then you want to just tag along if you're going to invest. So that makes sense, y'all? Y'all follow me on that? If you have any questions, it's an intimate group. Ask a question. We can, a lot of times I'll say save your question to the end. If you got a question that pop up, just go and ask it. I'm spending a lot of time on this because these concepts are very important to understand. Inflation, interest rates, right? Flow of money into real estate. Then you look at the job growth, in or out migration, path of progress, new construction. These are areas that if you just pay attention to these, it's not rocket science, that can help you to make some decisions that can really skyrocket you to building generational wealth, right? Now, there's a measure called cap rates, called capitalization rates. I'm not gonna go into that, it's a whole nother seminar. But that's just the rate of return that an income property generates, essentially the capitalization rate. And local trends or national trends more directly impact cap rates than, you know, maybe the local. That the national trends of interest rates and inflation is going to impact the rate. For commercial properties, that rate is how we determine the value. Okay, that's where we start getting to value, right? So the cap rate is kind of on the national trend, right? Net operating income, called NOI, net operating income is local. That's gonna mean your income, your gross income minus all your operating expenses, right? Like for instance, City of Oakland, you gotta register your units, pay City of Oakland business tax, right? You're gonna have a bunch of fees in Oakland that you're not gonna have if you're in Stockton, right? So that's a local thing. The cap rates is more of a national thing, all right? I don't want to dissuade you from Oakland, but you need to know if you're coming up in Oakland doing some business versus if you're doing some business in Stockton versus if you're in Arizona or somewhere. A lot of people go out of state, right? Compare that out of state property with something that they're looking at in Oakland or San Francisco. You can't do that. You got to compare that property with what you're doing in that area, and you have to know that area. Very, very important, right? Now, this is a market cycle, or it's a picture of what the market cycle looks like, right? You see it goes up and it goes down. And if you look at whether it's real estate, stock market, commodities market, any market you can think about, it don't always just cryptocurrency. I mean, cryptocurrency is like a, like an EKG on the heart monitor. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? It's up and down, around, up and down, right? But it don't always go one way, all right? And it's not the end of the world when it goes down, you know? In fact, for me, it's been harder for us to do deals when we're towards the top of the market because we work with a lot of investors. Investors don't want to buy and outbid other investors to get a deal. They want to try to find something off the beaten trail. They want to find something where they don't have to beat out Alibaba and the 40 Thieves just to get a deal. They want to be able to negotiate, right? So when it starts going down, that actually is sometimes the better time to buy. But one thing I want you to look at over time, let me go over here to the whiteboard. Sorry, YouTube, I'll be back. Is that over time, we're moving up. All right? One thing where inflation is our friend is that over time, even through the dips, this dip is higher than this dip. See that? This peak is higher than that peak. And we're going to get caught in these, there's peaks and valleys in life. There's peaks and valleys in business. Peaks and valleys. And this right here at the top of the market, I feel like was about September, October of last year. Because even before the end of the year, last year, we're selling a lot of properties, it started getting tougher to sell properties, right? We start talking about, hey, maybe the interest rates are going to start going up. You know, we can't get any more in terms of price, right? I think we're about here, not at the bottom, not at the top, coming down. Gotta love PG&E. Hopefully, man. Sorry if you're on YouTube, man. Somebody they done cut the lights off on the PG&E that went off. I was over here breaking down the concepts and all of this. I know Paul is out there right now trying to work something. We'll give him a few minutes. But while we are in this time where it's declining, right? The whole area. This is the second time today.
Yeah.
When I came up with early, and then I was like, what's going on over here?
Yeah, nah, it's the whole area went down. But like when we're in these down times in the market, y'all, a lot of people are saying, oh, I'm gonna wait. And that's what I keep hearing. I'm gonna wait. Same, they was waiting last year or the year before when it was time to buy. I'm gonna wait. Right? What I see a lot of experienced investors doing right now is going after stuff. Now, there's a difference between waiting and being patient, right? You know, you don't, like I said at the beginning, you're not gonna get done waiting. You know what I mean? Being patient though, patience is a virtue. You know what I mean? Meaning that you don't go out and grab everything, the first thing, that shiny object that comes your way. You have to go through and be diligent about it and find the opportunities. You know what I mean? We're doing deals right now. I think this is an opportune time because you can negotiate with sellers. The market may come down a little bit more. The issue, and when you read that book, you can't, nobody, the smartest of the smartest, the Warren Buffetts of the world, we can't time that market exactly. We don't exactly know in the future where the top's gonna be and where the bottom's gonna be. So we gotta make decisions based on the plan we put together. We put together, like me and Jackie was talking about, earlier. Say, hey, I wanna build a legacy for my family. I wanna go and acquire properties where it generates some income. And then I'll be able to pass along. You know what I mean? So you let that be your guide and say, okay, according to that, now I can start looking at properties. And maybe it might go down a little bit. I'll tell you right now, it's probably gonna go down a little bit. But like we just purchased a property out in Stockton this year, 40-room hotel. It's got 7,500 square feet of retail. It was a great deal. Guy was in default, right? We purchased the property a couple years ago. It was a commercial short sale. And we're going through and doing development on 73rd, where the old Sobeys building is at, right? We're negotiating that. It's an 8-unit building, a foreclosure property in Oakland right now. The first foreclosure I've worked on where the lender actually took it back already, right? And since 2016. And what we're looking at is, hey, even if the market dips a little bit, right? We're not buying based on, the value is just gonna keep going up. We're buying because we can buy the property, we can physically come in and improve it, we can rent it out, we can make money now, right? Since we're gonna hold it, we can go through that cycle. You know what I'm saying? As it goes up and as it comes down, we can hold and rent it out, make money while it's down, and then when it rides up, we can decide we're gonna hold it and continue renting it out, maybe refinance, get some more money out, or maybe sell it and do an exchange. You know what I mean? We got options. Now, the next slide after this was gonna be, there's different strategies. There's something called the contrarian strategy. And what that says here, it says, buy when there's blood on the streets. Be greedy when everyone is fearful. And Warren Buffett has this big idea of, that's where I got that, be greedy when everyone is fearful. What he does is, when the market's down or when there's good buys, he is buying up everything. People was criticizing Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway last year at their annual meeting because they were sitting on all this cash not buying stuff. And they're saying, well, why are you not buying Bitcoin? And why are you not buying this? And why are you not buying Tesla? We need to put this money, the money just sitting in the bank and ain't doing nothing. We need to invest this money. And he just telling them like, look, I don't take advice from y'all. You know, we've been through this before. We said we are stockpiling cash. I'm not overpaying for nothing. You know what I mean? So this year, they say so far the fund has made $5 billion, in growth in a down market. He made $5 billion buying stuff that where the value probably still going down, but he bought it at such a way that his value was made when he bought the property, or bought the businesses. That's what he does. He don't just buy individual stock. He buying big stakes of the company, and he's bought so many of them, and all of his stuff generates cash flow. So he ain't tripping off with the stock. What he said a lot of time, I'm not worried about what the stock market gonna do here and there. He's buying good companies that are generating income that he can then, be building wealth off of. All his investors. And all those people who said, hey, you need to buy Bitcoin, you do all this stuff, they was ridiculing him. I bet they're glad that he didn't listen to their advice, because he would have something I seen yesterday. It said Zuckerberg lost 43 million or $43 billion, right? He was worth this, and now he's Buffett that made $5 billion this year. You know what I'm saying? And that was because that contrarian strategy. Now, it's another strategy called the momentum strategy. And this is a little bit more safe. It's when you buy in, when that peak, when I showed you all that cycle, when it starts going up. That's the momentum strategy, right? And now, that's a lot of people who are contrarians obviously also gonna buy on the momentum, right? But they're gonna do that before it hits the top. The last year, I didn't do any investment deals in 2021 or 2020 because it was just, man, it was just so, we ended up closing on the Soulbeat 2021, that was delayed, but we had started that deal in, 2019. But it was so difficult to get a deal last year that I was like, man, we just gonna sell properties for people this year. We're gonna go ahead and do that because there wasn't no opportunity. Now, this year, we start buying again because we've seen the opportunity, knowing that the market still may go down, but that we ain't worried about that because why? We're following the cash flow model. We're making sure that the properties that we're buying, acquiring, putting investors together for are poised to generate cash flow. You know what I mean? And then when it comes back, we have options to buy, sell, refinance, and do things like that. So the point here, y'all, and I'll kind of bring it. I don't know if this power is gonna come back or not. But the point I'm trying to say to y'all is this: markets go up, markets go down. I gave y'all them 7 things that help you to be able to navigate, right? So we're not just listening to what they're saying on CNBC or Fox News. You know what I mean? We tapping into quality knowledge out there. You know what I'm saying? Making good, wise investment decisions. There's a couple different strategies. You want to buy when there's blood on the street. You want to buy when it's going down. You can buy and negotiate, with the deal versus having to outbid someone, right? When it starts coming up, you really want to be positioned already with properties, with influence. People know who you are now. I can really go out there and make some things happen. And now I can sell, I can exchange, I can do different things. The next slide and what I was going to be saying is that what makes it all work is following the fundamentals and not getting carried away trying to exactly time when the top is or exactly time when the bottom is, because you don't know that. But it's to see where we are relative to the rest of the cycle and then make a quality decision that way. You know what I mean? So therefore, you can really build wealth without waiting, right? Waiting is not what you do. If you say, like last year, we wouldn't buy nothing, but I'm always looking, I'm always evaluating, I'm always on something, being patient. So you be patient, don't necessarily wait, because if you wait, people like us, who out there, and we's black folks putting our money together, make some things happen. It's hedge funds, it's international money, it's folk been doing this for a long time. Remember I told y'all the difference about this market is the flow of funds in real estate, it's still there. It's big money, going after deals. You know what I mean? So you can't just wait and sit back. You know what I mean? You have to go after it and find your niche. You know what I mean? And when you do that, you follow the cash flow model. I was gonna break down like what that is. Basically, you gotta look at every property and see, does the income or potential income it could generate enough to pay for the operating expenses? The operating expenses is not your mortgage. That's your taxes, that's your insurance, that's your maintenance, right? That's your property managers, that's your landscaping, that's the cost of doing it. If you pay cash for the building, you're still gonna have all those, right? Then your net operating income, that is the money you pay your mortgage with. That's the money you pay your mortgage with. And you wanna make sure that it's something left for you. It's this big mystery that people think, hey, I'm just gonna, the property, it's okay if it's negative as long as it's going up, but it's gonna go up over time. Well, that's all good until it ain't. Right? Until you lose a job or something happen wrong and you can't make the mortgage payment and 2008 happens again. They snatching properties, right? So follow the cash flow model. That'll never change. That's why Buffett can say, hey, look, last year, I don't take advice from y'all because we've been through this. We are stockpiling cash because we know what's gonna happen. When we stockpile this cash, we're gonna come in there and snatch. He wasn't waiting, he was being patient. And then he saw his opportunity, now he's on it. And he might end up buying Facebook. Who knows? Lost so much value. But he's buying companies that are now undervalued. When last year everyone was buying companies that was overvalued. Now it's an opportunity for you to go buy properties that are undervalued when everybody and their mama last year was buying properties that was overvalued. So that's the biggest thing I can tell y'all about the real estate market. And I told y'all where I think we are. I think we're in the downward cycle. It ain't the bottom yet. We got some more. I think we will see a bottoming next year, and it depends on what the Fed and the government and all this stuff that's happening. It might be the year after. I don't know exactly when that's going to be. But I started doing deals in 09 when did nobody want to touch it. And it's still, the bottom to me, what I saw was about 2011. And then it started going back up. But we was doing deals hot and heavy from 09 to 11. And everybody who was doing deals while it was still going down made their name for themselves. And then when it started coming back up and the bank was like, well, who, or brokers was like, I need to sell this property. I don't want to just depend on anybody. Who can I go to? They gonna call the people that was making deals, right? The opportunities will present themselves in that situation and circumstances, right? Now, a couple of opportunities, and I wrap with this. A couple of opportunities. But I was gonna say, in this period of time, structuring creative financing deals. While the interest rates are up, right? Banks have money, they wanna lend it to you. They wanna lend it to you at 7%. I just closed a deal in West Oakland where the seller carried the financing. It was the best way to get the deal done, right? So the buyer got a loan from the seller, not the bank, and they did so at 3% interest. While everybody else paying 7 and 6 and all of this, we got a deal. Now that's a unique situation. Most sellers ain't gonna do that, but we was able to make that happen. Right? It happens. You know what I mean? It's possible, right? So you structure situations like that, right? I closed the deal out in Stockton. I got the seller to carry financing in a secondary position, right? I got a couple other deals where we're working on master lease options. In commercial real estate apartment buildings, it's called a master lease option. That's the same thing though as a regular lease option. You guys heard of lease options before? You rent to own, you lease the property, you have an option to purchase it for a period of time. And so you don't have to put all the down payment. You put a little bit of money down. You get a lease option. You can go and sell that property and make a profit, right? You have options now, right? And that's what I'm seeing. I'm telling you, I'm a broker. This is what I do. I get emails every day from brokers. I get an email every single day the last 3 weeks. Seller financing, creative financing. Because brokers, we know that look, we get paid on the deal. If we don't sell deals, we don't get paid. So we have to get creative. The way you do that, I'm turning these cameras off. The way you do that, we got a couple people still on YouTube. Thank you, YouTube. We without the lights, so thank you for rocking with us. But if we want to get paid as brokers, we got to find ways to get things done. As sellers, if you want to sell your property, you're going to have to find a way to get it done. And if the bank ain't lending, or if they're lending at 7%, if you could carry financing for your property and you could carry financing at 5%, now your property is more valuable than the rest of the marketplace. That's how you make moves in this kind of a market. If you're a buyer, you can negotiate that. Let's say the seller don't want to come off their price. It's another reason why I don't think we're going to see the price drop that we saw in 2008. I told you guys mainly because of the flow of money into real estate. 2008, it wasn't no money in real estate. Now it is. But then also people who have bought properties have had to put 20% down, 30, 40% down. So they're not ready to walk away from it like they was in 2008. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're also not ready to drop their price. I know because I'm dealing with them every day. I'm telling them, look, you want to sell, you're going to have to drop your price. Or maybe you have to carry some financing. And so as a buyer, a solution could be, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, you don't want to drop your price, but why don't you carry some financing? That way we can get it done. Now you get you some money, maybe not all of your money, but you get you some money, and then we set this thing up so that in the future you're gonna get a nice lump sum, and during the present you're gonna get interest on your money that is gonna be better than what you would get in the bank, right? That's a win-win solution. Creative financing, right? That is a way that you can today understand where we are in the marketplace and go out and make some money and go win in today's marketplace. The next thing you could do is assume, this is more so for commercial, not as much for residential, although there are some loans in residential you can do this, but where you find a property that has what's called an assumable loan. I'll give you an example. A friend of mine is selling a 90-unit apartment building, and for $13 million, right? The loan on it is $7 million, 3.25% interest rate. That's a good rate today, right? Because the market's in the sixes, the high fives. So 3.25 is better than the street. So whoever buys that property, they can assume that mortgage. They can go and they can take over that mortgage, right? And they got to put money down, but they're gonna have to do that if they go get a new loan. If they go get a new loan, they're gonna pay 6-something%. But if they go buy this one, they're gonna pay 3.25%. So now again, they're beating the marketplace. You see that? And that's just like, so whoever ends up buying that property, now you gotta have some couple of millions to make that one work. But whoever, somebody got it, and somebody who makes that move, now they're winning. And you might not be doing a $13 million deal, but you maybe could do that on $1 million deal or $500,000 deal, where somebody has a loan that can be taken over. Now in residential, a lot of their loans, they won't let you assume it, but you can take them over what's called subject to. So you do a deal with the seller, they say, hey, you take over my mortgage subject to, meaning that the bank don't know about all this. This is illegal, by the way. It is legal. From a real estate perspective, the bank don't necessarily know about that, but you can give them some money. Maybe a lot of times people who are in foreclosure, this is what happens. Hey, I'll come pay your back payments off. Maybe give you a couple dollars. Now I come take over your mortgage. Now I own the property. The mortgage's still in your name though. We in this together. I'll make you some payments every month. I'll pay your mortgage payment, and once the market improves, or I fix it up, and then I'm gonna sell it, and we're gonna pay them off. It's called subject to. It's a great way to take over somebody's mortgage and make some money, right?
Steve,
Yep.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So, with just talking about the subject to,
Yeah.
is it true that if you have the mortgage in a trust that the bank can't like force a due on sale?
Well, I've a good question. I've heard that, but if the bank wants to force a due on sale, they can force it. I mean, there's ways. When you have a trust, you got some powers. That's why what happens is the banks don't want to lend to a trust a lot of times, residential. You can, a lot of times what people do is close the property in their name and then move the property to the trust. Now, the truth though, if the bank calls a loan, they can get around it. The issue, here's the reality about it. As long as the bank getting paid, 9 times out of 10, they're not calling their loan. You know what I mean? It's when they stop getting paid that it's a problem. You know what I mean? Because they don't want to take that property back. Especially residential, they don't, or commercial banks. So hard money lender, different story. Bank, they really don't want to take that property back. There are some protections though you have with a trust that makes it a lot more difficult for the bank to do that. We were just talking about trust. You want to have properties in the trust, especially your home residence. You want to have a trust. So great question for that. But the truth about it is, the bank can't get around it if they want. So it's some risk to doing this, but it's a risk. Everything you do has a risk. That's why we talk about calculating things and having a process and having a method and a procedure of how we're gonna do it. You know what I mean? Very, very important. Very, very important. And so we talked a little bit about creative financing. We talked about taking over properties and stuff like that. What I also want to say is repurposing properties. Okay, like what we're doing in Stockton, we're taking an old hotel, we're gonna make it into housing. What we're doing on 73rd, we're taking the old Soul Beat building that's gonna be commercial kitchen, ghost kitchens. The building right by it was, it was a half-built something that's gonna be a restaurant, a flex space. Taking something that where the use is not useful anymore, it's not relevant no more. Like Toys R Us, big buildings, they're taking a lot of those and turning those into Amazon fulfillment centers. Toys R Us is they out, Amazon is in. They need fulfillment centers where you can go and pick your stuff up. That helps them out to run their business to where, yes, they can deliver it to you, but you need something today, we're going to get it from the fulfillment center. You know what I mean? So that's a change of use. A lot of office buildings are getting converted to apartment buildings, especially in the downtown area, because people used to live in downtown now. Well, office buildings ain't leasing up like they used to after COVID. So a lot of those are changing into apartments. So if you can find a property and change the use of it, so say, maybe it's a house on MacArthur, or on Foothill, or some busy corridor. And maybe, it's not the ideal house, but you can convert that house into a doctor's office or something. Now you've increased the value of that property. This is a perfect time, and this is a big trend that's going on in people seeing, opportunities where we can change the use of a property to what's more valuable, right? It takes some heavy lifting to do it, but that's another strategy how you can take advantage of what's going on right now and make some money. And the last thing I'll kind of say is that, look, it ain't easy right now. It ain't. And we got to know that, we got to understand that, we got to own that. But there's always big opportunities in these situations. You got to roll your sleeves up, go to work. For a brokerage perspective, or anybody out there running a business, just a little outside of real estate investing, if you're in brokerage like I am, if you're in sales, if you run a business, we just gotta do a few things. We gotta do a little bit more, right? If we track all of the ways we generate business, right? So we do meetings like this, we do videos, we do calls, we cold call, we warm call, we send emails out, we do ads, we send mailers out, we do all of these things. In a time like this, what you have to do is you have to do more of those things, right? I'm probably making triple the amount of calls now that I've ever made. I'm calling people I've done business with, calling people in my network, asking them how they're doing, calling people on property, seeing if how are they doing, they think about buying, they think about selling. You have to do more. So if you run a business, say you run a nail shop, and you do a certain amount of ads, or you probably got to do a little bit more, right? Now, the issue may come in with budgeting. Like for instance, a lot of companies scale their marketing budget back at this time. But if you do that, you gotta be careful because you scale you're gonna scale your business back. What you might want to do is say, if you're gonna scale your marketing back, is look and say, what marketing is not making me money? And do less of that. What marketing is making me money? And do more of that. You know what I'm saying? Like for us, it don't cost me no money to pick up the phone and call somebody, or go out there and knock somebody's door, or go to a networking meeting, or send out an email. So we're doing more of that. I may not be able to go out and do triple the ads because I got to spend money for that. But what I can look and say, okay, look, what ads pull better? What ads bring me leads? Let's do more of those. What ads are not really doing the best? Let's do less of those, right? So when you're running your business, those are the things you need to think about. Or let's say you run an organization. You gotta find ways where you can scale back, but don't scale back on the things that bring you the business, right? And I got 24 real estate agents that are under my license that work for me, and we are drilling this into them that you need to do more calls, you need to do more videos, you need to do more emails. The flip side of that, and this is the last thing we'll wrap with, we gotta get better. All of us. I don't care how much experience, skills you got, you can always be better. So it's time to increase your skills, increase your knowledge, increase your network, increase your connections, increase your understanding, increase your experience. Because the better you get, you're gonna stand out, especially in a time like this. Especially in a time like this, you know what I mean? We sitting here and the lights ain't on. Now, we done been through the last 2 or 3 years, rolling blackouts, the wind is windy, turn the PG&E off. We don't know what PG&E gonna do, you know what I mean? We can only affect our response to that, right? We don't know what the Fed gonna do with these interest rates. We dang sure don't know what's gonna happen with inflation. We don't know if they're gonna cut the money off for real estate or not. All we can do is make the necessary adjustments that we can advance, right? Doing more of what we do to bring us value and then getting better. You know what I'm saying? I coach football and little football, not high school or anything, but with the little guys, what we work on every day is that, hey, when y'all are doing y'all push-ups, I need you to do it a certain way. When you're running your laps, you got to do it with the full energy. All right, we're doing our tackling drills. We have to do it a certain way because what you have to work on every single day is getting better. And if you work with that in practice, when you get to the game, it's going to show up. And if you don't work those in practice, you lag. We lost the game right before the championship game. And a big part of why we lost the game, we was fumbling, we wasn't making tackles, and that whole week in practice, our team got real confident, we was doing real good, right? They got relaxed. And we were trying to drill in them, and I probably could have did a better job of preparing them, but what happened is the way we prepared and the breakdowns showed up in the game. You know what I mean? And so that's a lesson for us all to take this time as we going through it. And you might say, hey, look, now's not my time to buy or my time to invest in a deal. But I'm not going to just sit back and wait. I'm going to go after it. I'm going to put together a plan. I'm going to evaluate stuff. I'm going to sharpen my axe. I'm going to go listen to as many YouTubes as I can, go to as many meetings like that. I'm going to meet people. I'm going to network. I'm going to look at deals. I'm going to negotiate. I'm going to swing the bat. I'm going to get better. And when you do that, an opportunity gonna present itself to you, and you will know how to evaluate. You don't have to sit up at night asking yourself. You will be ready for the deal because you put the time, you put the effort in, you put the work in, and you sharpened your axe. You got better, and that's the biggest thing. And I'm sorry, y'all. We done had the lights go out. I appreciate y'all sticking with me in on this. I hope this was valuable. And just remember, no matter if the market's going up, no matter if it's going down, there's always an opportunity to make money. You figure out what your lane is. You stay in it and you go after it. And make sure you link up with people that's going the same way. Make sure you link up with people that's going the same way. We broker properties. We sell people to buy properties. We sell properties. We put investors together, go out and buy properties. If I was y'all, I would be linking in with us, seeing what we are doing, seeing how you could be a part of that, and how we can connect, collaborate, and grow together. So with that being said, thank y'all very much. I really appreciate it. Before we bounce out here, do any of y'all have any questions, thoughts, feedback, or anything from me before we wrap up?
Well, I commend you for keep going in the dark.
Right.
Oh yeah, man. You know, I'd have been through worse,
some people
man.
just probably just stopped and just called it the day. So I mean, that was really big.
Yeah,
And I just kind of like, the reason I'm here, I'm a real estate agent. I started probably when you started, like in 2002, down the street with Keys Realty.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So
Okay.
I was
Howard.
Howard,
My
Keys.
guy.
Yes. So I'm getting back into the business right now. I've always kept my real estate license. I'm not active, but I'm looking for a broker.
Yeah.
But right now, what I'm doing is I'm generating leads for someone and just giving them customers as they come.
Oh wow.
And then if the customer buys, then we will work a referral fee. But I'm trying to find somewhere where I can pretty much fit before I just jump in.
Right.
And just become an agent. But now with these leads that I'm getting and everything, I'm like, oh, I'm just giving away.
Man, you're doing the hardest part of the business, man. Is getting the leads, man. You know what I'm saying? Well, thank you for saying that. I appreciate that. And Howard is a great guy, by the way. And we should definitely schedule time to meet because we are growing and expanding our team. And the biggest thing that I'm trying to teach and preach is lead generation. And I don't know what it is with the real estate agents of today. Because of all the last few years, the internets and everything has been so easy that a lot of agents now, they don't know how to go and do what you do. They don't know how to go and generate leads. A lot of people in the residential business was dependent on Zillow. Zillow was giving people leads all day long and all that. Now the Zillow leads have dried up. So people don't know how to go out and hustle, cold call and network and send emails and, you know what I mean, do this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And so people was really hungry. I mean, it's tough. So you know, but a lot of people, instead of going out and learning how to go out and make business happen, they looking for other industries that they driving Ubers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But like instead of buckling down, they going somewhere else. So you are doing the hardest part of the business. You are doing what most agents don't know how to do. And you might as well start, instead of giving them somebody else, you might as well take them leads yourself and turn it and make it happen. But it's important to make sure you join a team where your interest and the team interest is aligned and you're moving towards the same direction. Yeah. And that's just, bottom line. And because then you're gonna can operate with this concept called synergy. Your energy, their energy, now we can get more things done than we could individually to get done. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like you see like the Budweiser horses, y'all, the big horses that carried the speed coaches back in the day. Well, what they would say is they would train them all together. One horse could pull maybe 1 ton, and the other horse could pull 1 ton. But when those 2 horses come together, they can pull 4 tons. By themselves, only 1 ton. So that's 2 tons. But when they come together and they're trained up and they move in the same way, now they can pull 4,000 tons or 4 tons. You know what I mean? And that's the concept of synergy. And I'm telling you, it's a real thing. That's why I'm here working with Paul. Paul's my mentor. Paul owns this complex. It's called the Chambers Complex. You know what I mean? We are putting our resources, our minds, our networks, our capital together so we can go out and get more done than we can get done individually. You know what I mean? And look, now is the time. You know what I mean? There is a window of time, a window of opportunity. I remember people telling me last year, I'll never be able to buy a house in Oakland. I'll never be able to buy something in Oakland. And this stuff, it was something that just went in my own neighborhood in Brookfield for under 400,000 a house. You know, whereas last year that house would have been 650. You know what I mean? That's a 200,000. That's now you cook with grease. Now you can get that house. You know what I mean? But that's the importance of it. So make sure you get my card and we talk.
Yeah.
And we're gonna sit down and break some bread.
Yep.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Sounds good.
Anybody else got any other questions, thoughts, comments, concerns? Well, no, I really appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for sitting here up in this dark. You know what I mean?
I had one.
Oh yeah, go ahead, bro.
That, especially with like, you know, real estate professionals and any business on here, we spend so much time trying to go out and find a deal.